Hi everyone. Okay, so we are back and I have supplies. So now what we're going to be talking about is we've covered some shapes, just the standard ones. Here, I'll move this over just a little bit. So just kidding. I will move myself over just a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay, so yeah, okay. So we have our triangles, rectangles, circles, squares. And we're just going to start with those ones. And I'm going to start with like the simple ones, right? Because there's lots of ways where you can have many different shapes in one, like, or more like complicated shapes, like this one, right? This is a more complicated shape because it has like that cylinder right in here and in the cork, but like the bottom is a triangle. It has three sides instead of four because it's triangular. So this is a more complicated one, right? So we're gonna just keep it decently simple. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I said that we would start with the cubes, right? So what you want to do is you want to have a pencil with an eraser and a piece of paper. Now, I find it helpful to find something around me that is a cube shape. And so you could definitely go do that, right? If you're in class or at home, you can find something that's a cube shape. If you don't have something that's a cube shape, that's okay. All right? I'm still going to show you how to draw. If you want, you can do it free-handed, or you could trace a square, or you could also use a ruler. So I'll show you a couple. I'm going to do mine in marker so that you guys can see better what I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scooch closer. Get all nice and cozy here. I'm going to bring this closer. Angle that down a bit so that you guys can see better. You like my cutting board? It is now artboard. It is no longer cutting board. That's okay. All right. So say I have a square. It won't be perfect. That's okay. It doesn't have to be. All right. So the way that you take it from a square to a cube to give it dimension is I decide to draw a square just slightly away from this square, right? So maybe I want to do another one up here. So I go in and I follow that line, and it's on the inside and sticks out a little ways. Okay, so now we have two squares next to each other. Now, this is just two squares, but to make it more of a cube shape, we're going to connect the corners. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it kind of looks a bit more rectangular. It really depends on the angle that you're looking at your cube, right? So if I had it, trying to figure out how I move on the camera. Hold on. There we go. Okay, there it is. So you see how this is a cube. All of the sides are the same, but because it's just barely tilted, the top and then this side over here seems smaller. But if I like really tilted it, then I would see more of that, right? So we can always try that too. That one's a little bit more complicated, right? So you can do this all the ways. So we did it over here on that corner, and now maybe I want to do another square or rectangular shape. It's pretty much the same with squares and rectangles. Okay, so we're going to say that this is squares or cubes rectangles. Oh shoot, I'm teaching you guys about shapes and I forgot what the name of the, I think it's a rectangular prism. No, that can't be right. Put a pin in that. I'll come back to it. Okay, anyway, so if we wanted to do a different angle, then we could do that, right? So instead of having it up here, we could do it maybe down here. And these are pretty close together, right? You can make them further apart to change the angle, but we're just focusing on how to take it from a square to more of a 3D shape, from 2D to 3D. Okay, so you guys remember what we do after we draw our second square? Match the corners. Okay, so these two corners will go together. These two corners will go together. Will these two corners go together? No. I'll close this corner. Just like that. Right, so now we almost have like the frame for our cube, right? If we had some wire and had the outline, but which kind of makes you feel like you could put your finger through it, right? So in order to make your cube more solid, right? I can't put my finger through this. This is solid, okay? What you could do is you can erase some of your lines. So I am going to show you the lines to erase. I was going to get out a pencil, but I realized that I came unprepared. Not cool, Miss Jenny. Not cool. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. So we have another square, approximately. Right, so on the inside, let's do this guy again. On the inside, I'm not going to be seeing these lines back here, okay? I'm just going to be seeing this edge and this edge right in here, right? So this guy, I'm going to be seeing this one, and I'm going to see this one, but not the others. Okay, So in order to do that, you're going to want to erase those lines. So I'm going to dot what lines you would want to erase. All right. So if I have right in here my cube, it comes up above. I would keep this part. I would keep that line, and that line, but I would not be able to see that. So let me show you what that would look like without the dotted lines. Okay, so I have this, and then I have this part that comes out a little ways, like that. Okay, so that takes it from just more of a frame where you can see all of the edges to more of a realistic object where you can only see some of the edges. Right? So on this one, turn it. There we go. There we go. Okay. Just kidding. Where'd it go? There it is. That's a good one. Okay, so this is my cube, and I can see. Shoot. Stop moving it, Miss Jenny. Ooh. Sorry, guys. Okay, there it is. Now stay. All right, so I can see this side, which would be like the first square that we drew. And then I could see right over here, which would be like this edge. And I can see right up here, which would be this edge. But I can't see these back ones or the bottom ones. Okay, so that would be how to do cubes or even rectangles, right? This would also work with a rectangle. So say I had, or even like a square that was like this, that's not a cube, where it has less dimension. It's not equal on all the sides. If I were to go in and do more of like a rectangular shape, and then I had some lines coming out, whoop, approximately. All right, and that can quickly become a book, right? These lines down the sides for the pages, and then it looks even more like a book. Okay, so there's that bad boy. I am going to go ahead and pin it up here so that you guys can kind of see it. Great thing about these pre-recordings is that if you want to go back to it, then you can always, rewind and whatnot. Makes it super convenient. Okay. Now, so there's our squares and our rectangles. Next, we will go ahead and talk about cylinders, which I mentioned before is kind of a combination of the square and rectangle, depending on the angle you're looking at it. And once you have some of these basic shapes, then it can take your art to a whole new level. It's pretty cool, if you ask me. I just gotta pop this on here with some tape so it doesn't wiggle. Okay. Okay. So if you guys remember from before, cylinders are like more of like a candle holder or a cup, or like I got my cup, that's a cylinder shape, round on the top and bottom, but when you look at it from the side, it looks almost a little bit more like a rectangle. But the biggest difference with cylinders is that rather than being a rectangle like this, right, where when it sits, because it is flat, it's not rounded, and also rectangular in shape, then it appears flat when it's on a surface. Let me find a better surface. Hold the phone. Okay. If this will stay. This might end disastrously, so wish me luck. Okay, so there's that on a surface, right? It looks nice and straight. When you look at a cylinder, what do you notice about the bottom? It looks a little curved. Yeah, we'll just take that guy away. Right? So, especially depending on the angle you look at it, right, it becomes more curved. It becomes more curved the more you move it around, and less the more you're looking at it straight on. Okay. But I like to always have just a little bit of a curve to my cylinder shapes. So if you're at home and you're trying to like draw something you see, or you're trying to draw a cup, or if you're just doodling or doing art or anything, a cylinder shape is a good one to know. So I am going to show you. Alright. So say I have a rectangular shape. And I want to say that's a cup. Alright? Now, in order to make it look more like a cup, more rounded, I actually, instead of having it be straight on the bottom and straight on the top, I add in little curves. Right? So, on the bottom, I usually do a little curve downwards. And then at the top, I do a curve that's a lot like that one. Okay, and you can keep the top straight, or you can make that curve up a little bit because it's more of a circle. So let me show you what I mean. So when you're looking at this, you see how when I barely angle it towards you, it's like it's curved right along the bottom, kind of downwards, and then it curves up along the back. And that's just looking at it almost head on. Usually you're, above your cups, right, rather than down below them. But if I were more at an angle where I was up above the cup, that circle gets more and more round and less like a squished circle, like an oval. And the bottom does the same thing. Right? So, but if I'm looking at it from underneath, then that oval or squished circle shape would be more on the bottom and less on the top. But it's not often that we're looking at cylinders from the bottom, unless we're like looking through a glass coffee table or something like that, which doesn't happen often. So, let's go again. So I'm going to show you without the extra lines, all right? So if you want to take it from rectangle to more of a cylinder shape, that's a little trick. You just, yep, yep, and then I erase my extra lines. All right, so let's try again. Let's say, oops, I have the beginnings of a rectangle, but instead of doing a straight line on the bottom and the top, I go in and I just make it a little bit curved right on the bottom. And then I add in a curve right at the top. But that looks weird, right? Because we know that we should be able to see the other side of the opening of our cup. So I do a little curve up too. Right, and this would even happen if you had a cup that was wider on the top and thinner down at the bottom. Right, curve at the bottom, curve at the top, that goes downwards, upwards curve, so I have my smushed circle shape for my opening. And you could even like get all super fancy with it. Have your opening, and if it's glass, then you could do another one of those shapes on the inside. And like, I should have brought my crayons with me. What was I thinking? Maybe one fell on the floor. No. Okay. But you could color that like orange, right? And say it's a glass of orange juice. Pretty cool. Like I said, it's little things like that can just take your art to a whole new level. Okay. So this is our cylinder. Lord help me, I hope I spelled that right. I'm pretty sure I did. Okay. So we have our rectangles, squares, cubes, cylinder shapes, and then the next one will be cones, and then we'll talk about circles. So I pop this right over here, and I'll be right back. Go ahead and go down over to the next video. And I've decided I need some crayons. It'll be so much easier to show you if I have crayons. So I'll be right back.